Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another Fans of Motion episode. This one, a little bit different. I'm joined by Florida man, Dave Nadelman, as always. And look at this. It's a blast from the past. We're below here with the green lipstick. Either that or, you need to get some shots for tetanus or something. Uh, the sometimes co-host from the past, Miss Rockin' Robin. Dave, Robin, we're going to talk a little bit about Ozzy Osbourne. You guys know of Ozzy, right? Robin, you may not. It was in a band called Black Sabbath. Anyways, I feel like the death of Ozzy, the closest thing I can mirror it to in this rock world is like the death of Eddie Van Halen. It is bigger than just the rock world, and I think everybody who is a rock fan and knows just a little bit of rock and roll, can feel that impact of his passing. So today we're going to just share some stories. We'll talk a little bit about Brad and Ozzy and that whole Night Ranger connection, and we'll talk about Jack Blades and Ozzy. Jack wrote some songs, and we'll just share our personal stories and everything. And I think it's a good little splice of time with Ozzy. I mean, we don't have anybody old enough to go back to it was in the 60s and then Black Sabbath came out and changed it, But Dave being a little bit older, he got
A
to
little bit.
experience the Blizzard of Oz and all that stuff throughout the 80s to where kind of my time with Ozzy was the late 80s and the 90s. Robin being a youngster, I mean, she's all that stuff was in the past, so she probably looks at Ozzy even differently than both of us. Um, I guess I'm going to start with my own story. Um, with
Mhm.
my first memory of Ozzy Osbourne was 1982-ish, 1983-ish. We had a local department store. I'm sure everybody had one in their hometown. Was department store, probably like a Kmart or something, but it had their own little record area. And I remember walking by this record. The album I'm holding up is the 1982 release Speak of the Devil, which Brad Gillis plays on. And being 5 or 6 years old, that scared the fuck out of me. Where like I thought that was the devil. This is the devil. This is the album cover that has the bat on it and Ozzy shirtless with the big dragon tattoo and has the fangs and the red jello in his mouth or whatever the fuck it is. And that's my first memory. That Ozzy Osbourne is the devil. And you then when you get older and you get into rock, you hear the story, especially back then you couldn't investigate anything online or whatever, but you had these stories of Ozzy biting the heads off of bats and everything else. And then, obviously, my first record that kind of like when I was a teenager was No More Tears. So that's how my first recollections of Ozzy were. What's your first recollection of when did Ozzy enter your world, Dave?
So, back in 82, I remember, it was all over the news or whatever news we had about the plane crash, with Randy Rhodes. And I knew Ozzy was with Black Sabbath. I didn't know much Black Sabbath back then. Um, I knew Crazy Train, but I didn't know Crazy Train was an Ozzy tune back then. I mean, I just didn't know what it was. And I found myself getting into some of his the Flying High Again and Crazy Train and everything else. And
Hmm.
and the first record I bought of Ozzy was the Ultimate Sin album. I want to say it was 87. Am I right there?
Ultimate Sin, or not Ultimate Sin, but yes, the tribute album was probably 87, if not 86.
No, no, not the tribute album, the Ultimate Sin album.
Ultimate Sin would have been maybe 84ish, 80, probably 85.
Okay. And I just remember that video, the shot in the dark video
Yep.
with the girl, and it was just a creepy video that at the end the girl was on the billboard, and then I just started listening to Ozzy all the time, and then he met with Lita Ford, and then Close My Eyes Forever was a huge song. That was after that though.
Yep. And January of 86 was Ultimate Sin. I just looked it up.
Okay. I know I wanted to go see that tour, and for whatever reason I couldn't. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was school or work or something. And it just was, and that was the closest I've ever come to go see him, because I've never seen him live. Never got to see him live. Which is just another reason why, if you need to see a band, you need to see a band when you have the opportunity. And yeah, so that's my kind of Ozzy-ish.
Robin. Now hold
Um,
on. Let me. And
yeah.
I want to go with this. So now I know you're 29. Okay. So, but that puts you like at an age where you're young and you got the Osbournes. So, I'm just curious to see where you're going to go. What's your first memories of Ozzy?
So, um, I will shamelessly admit that I'm actually 32. So I was born in 93.
What?
um, so I actually, saw a lot of the stuff, especially in the early 2000s of a lot of artists. I never actually watched the Osbournes. I've never really cared for Kelly per se. I don't hate her. I just never really cared for her, but I've always obviously loved Ozzy and his music. And like the first time I even saw Kelly was like a 80s magazine that my dad had kept from the 80s or whatever, of a picture of her when she was like 2 years old with him and Sharon. There was like it was like
Hmm.
the first time she was out. Like he had that magazine. So like, I always just appreciated them. I've never seen the show though. Um, if other than Crazy Train, the first album I really liked was Osmosis. So it was actually crazy to find out that Jack even worked on that, because Perry Mason was like my jam when I was a teenager too. Um, my mom used to get a bunch of free CDs from the library, but that was like the only Ozzy one. But that was like my favorite song on it. So that's like how I even got exposed to that song, was just because it was Ozzy and she had gotten it, for free downloads in those early iPod days. um,
I remember going to the library and ripping CDs and stuff.
yeah.
Now, Dave, you didn't get to see Ozzy. Robin, did you ever get to see Ozzy live?
No, he's never toured near me. It was always like a thing where you'd have to like go to Texas or 5 other cities possible to see like the Ozfest.
Mhm.
Like when I was starting to get into shows. So I never gotten to see him, but one of the times I went to Los Angeles, I checked out late of my hotel. So if I checked out late on time, I would have actually not have missed Ozzy and met him at the Rainbow Bar and Grill right on the Sunset Strip in LA. I missed him by a half hour. I was so upset at myself. I will never miss checkout time ever again, but it's not like I could. I mean, that's the closest I've ever gotten to see Ozzy, but the fact that I was like right near where he literally just was cool enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, so I got
Because he is a
uh
legend. It makes him even more mysterious to me.
I mean, I got lucky with um I
Apparently,
mean, it's
Ozfest was in Ohio, but it was like when I got into
well,
music and seeing shows, it was after he stopped, coming here.
um, so well, I got a question. I got a couple things about Ohio and Ozzy. So I saw Ozzy for the first time on the Osmosis tour. Now, again, I graduated in 95. Osmosis came out later in 95. So I mean that was a record, I mean, I'm coming of age. See what I did there. Uh and Osmosis able to go out and buy the first day it comes out.
Yeah, that's cool.
I do remember reading Jack Tommy writing for it, opening up the book and there not being anything in there with Jack and Tommy. Uh
I
and I
probably would have known if it was, to be honest.
the because at that point, you know, Jack and Tommy had songs on Vince Neil, had
Hmm.
songs on Alice Cooper's Last Temptation record and on Aerosmith's Get a Grip. So I knew they were working on Osmosis. Went and got the record, Jack and Tommy. Still a great record though. Perry Mason's one of my favorite tracks. I don't think it was as strong of record,
Yeah.
1 through 10 as some of his others, but still good.
Hmm.
Uh, so I saw Ozzy on the Osmosis tour in January of '96 in Dayton, Ohio at the Nutter Center. Uh, what's weird is I had saw in July of '95, I had saw Black Sabbath with Tony Iommi, and that was really it. Well, that
Yeah.
was it from the original, members, but that had Tony Martin singing, the late Cozy Powell drumming, which if you don't know who Cozy Powell is considered one of the best drummers in rock, and your sensitive mic picked all that up and scared the shit out of me.
Sorry, it
Uh,
scared me too. You probably saw
uh,
my face.
and Neil Murray on bass. Neil Murray. All those remember the videos, Whitesnake, of Tawny dancing on the hood and Rudy's in the video. Neil Murray is the one that played those bass tracks on that record. Anyways, so he had a band, Black Sabbath, very polished musicians, but it was just Tony Iommi. What was interesting about Osmosis was Geezer Butler is the bass player. Geezer Butler from
Hmm.
Black Sabbath. And when I saw them in concert, when I saw Ozzy in concert in '96, Geezer was playing bass for Ozzy. So I saw more original members of Black Sabbath at the Ozzy
Seeing Ozzy
Osbourne show than I did actually
That
watching
Black Sabbath.
the. And it's a weird. I mean, I don't remember a lot from it. Not that I was drinking or anything, but like it's just one of those things. And like I don't remember what me and I went with my buddy Scott and our friend Dia, and I don't remember what we did before. Usually I remember, oh, we went and ate here and we did this, and I don't remember really much. I remember, Ozzy having the big squirt gun and shooting people, and but I was disappointed that Zach Wild wasn't on the tour. He did the album, but not the tour. Gus G or something
Hmm.
did the
Because that's
tour.
iconic, the sound.
Mhm. And the next year, I don't know if it was the first year of Ozfest, but '97 was Ozfest in Columbus, Ohio, where they had the riot. So Players Amphitheater, one of your big outdoor sheds, Ozfest, summer of '97. I think Pantera was playing like 9:30 at night. Ozzy's supposed to come on after, and about 9:30 they announced that Ozzy wasn't playing. And
Boo.
they tore the place up, caught shit on fire, everything else. And
That's Ohio for you.
and
Don't mess with
later
the rock and roll.
later later that year, Ozzy came back and made up the date, or maybe it was next year, but I remember reading he made the comment of, you know,
You
how do
crazy motherfuckers.
they had a new fence built, and he's like, how do you guys all like my new fence I paid for, or something like that. But yeah, so Ohio has that history with Ozzy. Um,
I do have one last memory of with Ozzy though. When I first started getting in the '80s and wanting to kind of learn how to play guitar and just learning more about the '80s like rock and metal kind of world and stuff like that. My dad like actually plays guitar pretty well and stuff and always loved Randy Rhodes. So he would show me like those I forget what they're called exactly, but I know you'll know what I'm talking about. Like those certain images or those certain videos where he's playing with Randy, and it's kind of like a backstage or like a sound check kind of vibe where it's not like a real crowd, but they're playing on a stage and
Hmm.
it's them. Like he would show me that and be like, that was his best friend and all this stuff. And I had one of the many 80s magazines was the other one of the cover of Randy and stuff afterwards. And it was talking all about the accident in there. So like I've always really cared. So like I made sure like my Ozzy shirt has like Randy on it. And I still love it. It's so tragic. Yeah.
And if
My
you think about it, the guy had two successful career, I mean, two completely separate successful careers.
yeah.
You know,
Well, I
In
mean,
who'd
two
ever,
bands, yeah.
so
Just like Ronnie, honestly, like the other singer.
um, I mean, I may have said this before, but like probably my all-time favorite band, if you had to tell me who is the best rock band ever, I'm going to say Black Sabbath. Now, I got a podcast on Night Ranger. I collect and listen to a lot more other bands, but to me, Black Sabbath is the best rock band. And like my guy, I mean, it's hard. But like Tony Iommi, just his riffs, right? But I mean, obviously you can't say that Ozzy's not great. Geezer Butler, one of the best fucking bass players and lyricists, Bill Ward. So one thing I would like to try, because Black Sabbath's always been around my whole life. I would love to have been, let's say, 18 in 1970, you know, been a teenager in the hippies era, and all of a sudden you hear Black Sabbath. Because again, hearing it when you're Robin's age, my age and stuff, I don't think it's as revolutionary. I mean, it's
right?
still great, but
I mean, maybe if you're young, like I kind of was, because like I've always loved the 80s, even though I got into it at a
but
later
here's what I'm
age.
saying, even though you may not be listening, your mom might have the stuff on the radio in the car, and you're being exposed to
Similar music, okay.
similar music. What I'm saying is in the 60s, you're coming out of, the grassroots and the fifth dimension, and even the Rolling Stones is heavy metal at that point. And all of a sudden you get
Something like
generals have it in their masses burning. It's
no,
like,
you get the damn.
and you get, so to me, that's the only thing I miss about not experiencing some of that stuff for the first time. And
But the thing is, it's timeless. So you hear those same riffs today, and you could probably be just as excited as if you heard them back then.
but those first four Sabbath records, phenomenal. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, their fifth record, saved by that title track. And then you got the two, Ozzy records, Never Say Die and Technical Ecstasy, that are a little out there. I mean, I'm a big fan. I got the box sets of them and everything. And then you get into the Dio years and stuff. Um, but yeah, there's your Black Sabbath era. And then you get into, the solo era, which, I mean, when I was a young kid just learning about rock, I knew about Ozzy first and Black Sabbath second.
Hmm.
And I remember talking to a buddy of mine. He graduated in 1984. So, he's in junior high, maybe early high school when Blizzard of Oz came out. And he's a big time guitar player, played forever and very good. But he still remembers the first time he heard Randy Rhodes. How, again, it's like Randy Rhodes has been gone basically my whole life, and so I didn't get to feel that revolution. But he's like, I was in study hall, and he goes, an older kid was walking outside with a ghetto blaster, and they were playing something, and he heard this guitar solo, and he was just like, what the fuck is that? And it turned out to be Crazy Tree. So even that playing, I always like that story because it gives me that
Yeah.
firsthand account of how that playing just stood out. And there's a great clip if you're able to find it. I'm sure you would be. It's Ozzy. It's from one of the Ozzy and Jack shows, his son Jack, where they're out doing shit, but they go into a studio and they get the master tracks for Crazy Train. And the engineer puts it in. And when they get to the Randy Rhodes solo, he brings everything else down and just has the solo going. And I'd heard that solo 1,000 times, but when I heard that solo like that, it was
Isolated.
isolated. It was just like, what the fuck? Even Ozzy's sitting down listening to it, and when they brings down all the other things and it's just Randy, you can see it just hit Ozzy, and Ozzy just stands up,
Hmm.
and you could just see it. So um, yeah, and it's crazy too how Ozzy's the devil worshiper, bites heads off bats. Christians or church groups out there, picketing his concerts. And then, 10 years ago, Crazy Train is used in car commercials. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
that, that full,
And in
just,
regular rotation with local 80s cover bands. That's
um,
like the Ozzy song. If everyone's like Ozzy, that's like, do you know Crazy Train? I've sang it a few times, just because it's like, yeah. Plus, I love the message of that song too. Just of like,
It's Ozzy's Don't Stop
question what
Believing
you're
is what it is.
told. Just question what you're told. Don't let yourself be spoon fed, and let
I'll
don't let
remember.
yourself be told what to think.
I remember, even though the albums say all songs written by Ozzy Osbourne, the truth is they were written by Bob Daisley, Randy Rhodes,
Doesn't mean it's not a good message.
Phil Soussan, um, those guys. That's
Same
you
with
can
Alice Cooper. He
you
doesn't write
can
as many of his
you
songs.
can if you want to take a deep dive, you can look into all that and you know the wrongs supposedly done to guys in his band. I think a big thing that was really revolutionary at the time that we kind of just take common now is the show The Osbournes. When that came out, I think in 2001, 2002, there was no social media. There was no Facebook, no MySpace, nothing like that. So to like now with social media, you can see what your favorite musician actor's doing almost every day. None of that back then.
Hmm.
And reality shows with musicians, I mean, I think, you could ramble off all kinds. Back then it was kind of new. And that to me opened up a whole new I think thing for Ozzy. I mean, some of it negative,
Oh, sure, but no, but I mean that
uh,
definitely brought him into the masses, so to speak.
it
His
changed
son's
him.
not bad.
It changed him from being the Prince of Darkness to like America's dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
The way he is with his grandchild too, or was with his grandchild.
I think, like I said, I think it. I mean, and at that time he was in his early 50s. Maybe it is time for that change. But he was no longer the Prince of Darkness, and he didn't know what he was doing. Did he live in
I
a
mean,
fucking castle and sleep upside down? You saw
geez,
this.
wasn't he older when Black Sabbath formed? So he was even older in the 80s, kind of like Jack and Kelly, like probably like in their
Well,
later 30s or something at least.
I mean, he would have been.
Right?
Well, they were young with Black Sabbath, so
Exactly.
he was in his 30s during the 80s.
Exactly.
But
I guess what you're saying, Josh, is it brought him from the Prince of Darkness to Family Man.
Yeah,
correct,
though.
correct, correct. And it opened up new doors, right? So, I mean, we got a, like I said, I still remember watching it. I still remember the episode where they take him out to see his new stage for the new tour, and there's bubbles everywhere, and he's like, "Sharon, bubbles! I'm the Prince of fucking Darkness. I don't have bubbles." Um, but
By
And
the
I
way, my reaction to Justin Bieber, like when he first released, was literally what Ozzy's was. So when I saw his, I just laughed out loud. I'm like, that's what I said. Like, what's a beef, Justin Bieber?
That's a Justin Bieber. Um, watching
He's great.
watching the Osbournes one time during like the credits. Uh, I you couldn't really maybe hear the audio. It was just music playing, but I saw Ozzy doing a toast with someone at like a bar, like at a wedding, and it was just for a few seconds, but I was like, holy shit, that's Jack Blades. If you watch the Osbournes, there's an episode at the end where you will see Jack Blades. And one thing that was weird about, I won't say weird, but was unique about the Osbournes was, you had Sharon and you had the two kids, but there was a third child. I think her name was Amy, but she lived there, but she didn't want to appear on the show, so they never filmed her. She's a singer now. You can find her out there, but
I remember Amy, like growing up and stuff, and I remember when her album came out, actually. Didn't she have pink hair, or was that Kelly too?
I have no idea. Um, One thing I also remember growing up, you have the VHS tapes. And the one clip I remember is like one of his kids, Jack or Kelly, they're real small, 4 or 5. And, you know, Ozzy's talking into the camera, kind of like in the kitchen or something. And he drops something or does something. He's like, oh, fuck. Or he's like, oh, shit. And you hear one of the kids go, Daddy, don't cuss. And he doesn't even stop. He looks over at the kid and he goes, the kid's like, don't cuss. And then he looks over. He's like, then what the fuck am I going to do?
Yeah.
Um, and there's another one where, he's in an interview and he asks for something to drink and they bring it to him. He's still talking. He takes a drink and he's like, the fuck is this? Water? I don't want it, and, he's actually wanting a real drink. And I think he was sober at the time. And, they were like, no.
What, like
Um,
juice or something?
but, and I do remember another little thing is we saw this on the Osbournes, how funny he was. Before that, I remember reading an interview with Bill Ward from Black Sabbath and him talking about how funny Ozzy was. He's like, Ozzy could be a comedian. And then when you saw the Osbournes, you saw that part of
I think I remember, like, I read The Dirt back when I was a teenager, which was over 10 years ago now. But I even remember them saying that, like, other than the antics he did, like, he himself was just funny. Like the kind of jokes he would do or whatever, like, it wasn't even just what he did.
um
Like when they
yeah,
were talking at the pool or whatever.
I mean, there's all kinds of them where, I mean, and there's good stuff too, where I remember him talking to Sharon, like Sharon's all down and he's just like telling her to take it one day at a time, like talking her through this. Um, and this
Did you
being
go
good.
ahead? No, I was gonna ask if you saw Jakey Lee's post about Ozzy.
I saw that they were like had recon the one maybe where like Ozzy was like, man, I didn't get to see you much. Let's get together in the future or something like that.
Yeah, his tribute post was he just sent, or he like copy pasted his text, and like there were
Yes.
some errors or whatever, but it was so sweet. Like, I hope you had fun at your show and whatnot. It's crazy. Like, one of my really good friends actually opened for Jakey Lee and stuff like that. So it's like in so many little ways is it little like interwoven. Like, I have this great friendship loosely because of Ozzy through him, like the Jakey Lee thing. And I wasn't even at that show. It was like we connected afterwards through the other band member. Like, it was just like, hey, what's up? It was like breakfast.
And it's kind of haunting to think, like just a couple weeks ago they had that final
you
concert. And
know, I have to say I braced myself after Lemmy when I saw that, because it just felt so similar. And I'm like, I just wouldn't be surprised. And like, it
It's,
was, yeah, sudden, and it wasn't as like, it was quicker than Lemmy, but it just felt that
well,
similar
I,
kind of
I,
final.
I saw something today where Lemmy's final concert, He died 17 days later. Ozzy's final concert, he died 17 days later. Um, I made a post, just doing my own little tribute to Ozzy. And, I was like, Ozzy lived to be 76. That's like 136 in regular human years. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you think about the shit Ozzy went through, right? Like, that body had more than 76 years worth of fucking miles on it. I mean, he's a ripe old age for fucking the number one fucking hell raising rock star. So, you know, to have that career and to live as long as he did. I mean, Ozzy, that's why he was fired from Sabbath, was they were all like, we were fucked up, but Ozzy took it to a whole different level, you know. So Night Ranger Ozzy obviously got that connection with this record here. Brad Gillis. So Randy Rhodes dies in what is it, maybe March of '82. Ozzy's got a tour starting. Bernie Torme comes in for a couple shows, and then Brad Gillis comes in right after that and does the tour of the whole year for the Speak of the Devil record. Speak of the Devil Live, which is basically all Black Sabbath songs that they recorded live, comes out same month as Dawn Patrol. Brad Gillis leaves Ozzy's band to go back to Night Ranger. An album that's um, a lot of fans love. They love Brad's take on the Black Sabbath stuff. It's an album in Ozzy's catalog that's kind of ignored. I don't know if you can stream it. I'm pretty sure you can't. I know it's not available to purchase really on physical media. It's never been re-released. I think it has to do more with that relationship now with Black Sabbath and out of a courtesy not to release Black Sabbath stuff under that Ozzy banner. But yeah, it's just one of those things you can't stream it. You can't um, anything like that. Give me 1 second.
You might be able to pirate it.
I did check YouTube music. I definitely don't see it. I see Diary of a Madman, but that's like the closest, and it's not that. Because then it goes Diary of a Madman, Bark at the Moon. I like it because you get
Um,
every video ad free.
so yeah, so it's just one of those records that with that catalog, it's hard to find. You got to get the physical copy. They did now when they did remaster them in the early 2000s, maybe late 90s, with where the album covers are in like a small little circle. They did re-release it then, but anything past that has not. Then with Osmosis, like we said earlier, Jack had started to write with Tommy and Ozzy. None of the songs made that Osmosis record, except what's the one song? Shit, Whole World Shut Down. No, that's a solo song by Brad. Um, Whole World's Falling Down. That was Jack, Tommy, Ozzy, and was um, the bonus track on the Japanese record. So you had that song written by Jack, the bonus track to Osmosis, and then there's two other songs Jack wrote with Ozzy. You have a song called there's a song that him and Tommy wrote with Ozzy called Voodoo Dancer. And I'm not sure, I mean, it might be available on other places, but I have it on the See You on the Other Side European release. So it's got See You on the Other Side, then it's got a song called Amy, which I don't know if that's just a demo or something, but then it's got Voodoo Dancer written by Ozzy Osbourne, Jack Blades, Tommy Shaw. So there is the second track written by Jack. Then you have a third track, not co-written by Tommy Shaw, but co-written by Ozzy Osbourne, Jack Blades, and Neil Schon from Journey. and that song is called Black Skies. And again, it might be on somewhere else, I don't know. But the Black Skies is on the Dreamer European single, and it's got an acoustic version of Dreamer and then the album version of Dreamer as well. And I think there was a bonus, like a maybe a remaster or something they did of Ozzy's Osmosis down the line where they threw that bonus track from Japan on there. So you can look for that. But those are your Jack Blade songs from his time writing with Ozzy. And then we'll get into the social media post here in a bit. But and then Jack did a Ozzy Osbourne tribute where he sang I Don't Know with it's Jack singing, Red Beach on guitar, Jeff Pilson from Dokken, Your Boy, Bobby Blotzer from Rat, and Paul Taylor from Winger. Now there's two versions of this record, and I'm not going to go over it too much, but see here, Over the Mountain. So one cover is this, and it's titled The World's Greatest Tribute to Ozzy Osbourne. And the other one is this, Bathead Soup. Both have the same tracks. Some are different, but each have the important tracks. Over the Mountain with Mark Slaughter, Brad Gillis, Gary Moon, Eric Singer, and Paul Taylor. And both have the Jack Blades I Don't Know.
That's cool.
So there you go. You're wanting those.
Laugh at my reaction to Jeff Pilson all you want.
Jeff Pilson's your guy. Uh, so um, with with Ozzy passing, I it was kind of it's one of those things where if you would have told me years ago, oh, when Ozzy passes, you'll talk to Brad and Jack, but I did or whatever. Um, and uh, Brad kind of like, hey, I want to say this, and he sent me a text and of what he wanted to say about Ozzy, and a few hours later, I just get some pictures sent from Jack, and with Brad, it was about playing with Ozzy and what Sharon did for him and everything, and that Speak of the Devil record, and then with Jack, it was kind of stuff I'd never seen. I didn't. I think you figure them working together. They're in a studio or something, and Jack sends me these pictures of them with a birthday cake, celebrating Ozzy's birthday. Go to Jack's social media, you'll see the photos. There's one Jack holding the birthday cake, another one with Ozzy blowing out the candles, and there's another one with Jack and his kid and Ozzy and Tommy Shaw with their birthday hats flipping off the camera. So it's kind of a cool behind the scenes, and and Jack was saying how Ozzy had spent Thanksgiving with them, and his kids and Ozzy kids played together and were friends and stuff, and um, so it was
Photos are so important, like for these reasons. Like, no matter who it's for, like, if you have a personal attachment to it, like, just a reminder to, like, even if it feels weird, just like, remember the moment how you want to, and just be with that person.
well, it's great that they survived, with 4 digital cameras. You know what I mean? Like
Polaroids.
you move, and there's floods and house fires because those photos, as far as I know, have never been public. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And they get lost like that; they're gone forever. Um,
That's so sweet.
so, and it's one of those things too. It's once you post them, they're out there forever.
They're
It's
forever.
like I sometimes if they send a picture, it's like, hey, you sure you want to put this out there because it's never been
As long as you
seen.
can track the source.
Well, it's what I'm saying is if you're going to write a book,
Yeah.
if you're ever going to do a book, this is the stuff you want to put in your book. Um,
They probably have tons more,
Well, you
all
never
their
know. I mean,
connections.
you think maybe, but again, if you've had floods, fires, divorces, you know what I mean? Like, who knows where
Oh,
that,
I mean, other
that
pictures, other people. That's
um,
all I meant.
But going
so
back to what you said, Josh, I mean, in the beginning, this is the exact same feeling everybody felt when we lost Eddie. I mean, it's from how it
Yeah.
was on the news, how it just
it
everybody was
trans,
talk yeah, everybody
tra-
was talking about it. And when I found out, so when I found out about it, and this is just the power of the internet, I saw it on a post that said, you know, Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne dies at 76. And I'm looking at the source and it said Sky News or something like that. So I'm like, well, maybe it's one of those rumors, like, you know, how someone, people are always dying in these rumors. And I just started searching right away and I couldn't find anything else on it. But minute by minute by minute, it started showing up everywhere. So, I mean, and once it's on TMZ, you know it's got to be accurate,
Mm.
right?
Because
well,
they know everything.
well, and
But
you
I
know
mean,
it,
it was kind of weird that you couldn't, you know, it just wasn't anywhere. So that means that I saw it the minute it was posted or the minute it was reported, because within the next 10 minutes, it was just everywhere. It's just weird. It's very
and
weird.
it transcends just the rock world when Grandma Mabel is, I love that Aussie boy. And then, your friend's 13-year-old kid is posting a tribute to Ozzy. I mean, that's why I said it transcends. It's more than rock. And
Yeah.
you probably kind of remember where you were when you heard that. And it's the same with, Eddie Van Halen. Like I remember where I was at when I first saw the Eddie thing. And it's just
Sobbed on
weird.
spot.
It's just weird there not being a world with Ozzy Osbourne. Like I don't
You
know.
thought he was immortal almost.
Well, I thought, well, fucking, I mean,
Almost. Not like Keith Richards, but
there
almost.
was years upon years he probably woke up and brushed his teeth with whiskey and heroin, and it's like, this fucker is so preserved, he'll be around after us, and I mean, yeah. So I mean, it's no matter what, it's a shock. Um, like I said, Black Sabbath's just always been it's one of the groups I just always held up there, and I'm glad that I kept waiting for Black Sabbath, Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and
I
nothing.
know.
And
Nothing.
finally, it's like I saw Detroit. I'm like, I'm probably got to go to fucking Detroit if I'm going to see him.
Just like Motorhead.
And well, you know what's funny? You mentioned Motorhead.
Because
When
that was the closest,
when I
like,
saw
one.
Sabbath in '95 at the Newport,
Okay.
and I told you it was only Tony Iommi, Motorhead opened. There was probably only 300 people at that show.
Yeah, those two bands are also like they're
Mm.
not any kind of similar genre other than
Yeah.
they're different kinds of metal, in that time. But yeah, speaking of Tony Iommi though, with um she used to date Tony Iommi, Lita Ford,
Uh-huh.
and then she ended up doing that duet with Ozzy. Like there used to be an Ozzy literally an Ozzy cover band. They did everything Black Sabbath, only that Ozzy did, and then everything Ozzy did solo. They were called Sabotage. The dude looked like Tim and everything. And the guy had like a full on, like just like the Lita Ford guitar in the music video, where it was double neck and one was like a 12 string and one was like the regular string or whatever it is. Like we did that on stage because I had the Doc and tribute band and I even had blonde hair at the time. I'll honestly post a picture after this episode posts. I would like show a video of us like doing the song. But like, what was your guys' reaction like hearing that song for the first time? Because I loved it too. Because I think even before Joan Jett, even though I look like her a little bit more, I think that was the first time I've really seen a girl with a guitar.
I
With that
remember,
music video.
I remember playing, I remember me and my friends used to go to this pool hall and they had an old time jukebox there. And it was, you know, there were a lot of, and for some reason, every single night, multiple times, that song would be played. That song would just, I just never wanted to hear it again. I loved it, but I've heard it so many times. But it's an iconic song. I mean, I think that song also brought him back from, after his heyday,
Well,
I
Yeah.
guess.
I mean, a lot of people forget that. I mean, I don't know how much of a
And that was in the 90s, right? That song came out, I
no,
think,
that maybe
early 90s.
88 or 89. Talking about uh
Close Your Eyes Forever.
yeah, that
Close My
was
Eyes
like
Forever.
88 or
That
89.
was on Lita's album too, right?
Correct, as far as
Yeah.
I remember. But you got to remember, so Ozzy had those string of hits up through the Ultimate Sin, and I won't say it was a Close My Eyes Forever, 1988, February 89 is what they're saying it was released. Uh,
Mhm.
but the next couple albums had an EP and he had a record, No Rest for the Wicked, and the EP was just Say Ozzy. Those records didn't do as good as his Ultimate Sin and Bark at the Moon and all that. Not that he was, he was still pulling in concert wise, but album sales were down. So when you say maybe that brought him back, you could argue that. And definitely the record, I mean, No More
No
Tears.
More Tears, yeah.
I mean, that definitely brought him back. I mean, that was a very strong record with all the singles and even the songs that weren't singles. Very strong record. And he has kind of one of the first farewell tours where, well, I mean, I would say maybe the Who was first. The Who had the farewell
Ugh.
tour in the
Yeah.
early 80s, but
I
the
think
one,
Kiss was, weren't they?
Kiss was later. Uh,
Oh,
but
okay.
but Ozzy was the first one I remember where you had the No More Tears, and then the tour was the No More Tours, and Ozzy's going to retire, and
Did he do as many tours or as regular of tours after that? Because, like I said, when I got to try to see Ozzy, I would have had to travel. Like, they weren't even in Columbus, which would have been 2 hours. Like,
well,
the closest could have been like New York, which is between 4 and 8 hours, depending on where in New York.
I mean, he had regular tours, even after that. I mean, the Osmosis tour was everywhere, then Ozfest was everywhere.
Okay.
But
Damn young, I know nothing.
this was supposed to be like his
Okay.
last tour, to where even Black Sabbath got back together for his last show out in LA. And that show broke up the reformed Sabbath lineup with Dio. Because Dio is like, we got a new record out, it's doing great. Why are we opening up for Ozzy? And they wanted to do it, and Dio said he wouldn't do it. So Dio left Black Sabbath, and Rob Halford jumped in and did the Black Sabbath set. Um,
And think about when that No More Tears album came out, though.
92,
91.
91.
That album should have never been popular, just about the way the music was changing and everything. But that album was
Well,
huge.
91 and 91 would have been their last good year. Nirvana really kicks off in the fall of 91. And I would say by next summer, like Nirvana kind of creaks it in. To me, Pearl Jam shuts the door. And Pearl Jam really took off in the summer of 92. So, yes, he squeaked in, you know, that album.
So do you
Now,
think if that album was released 2 years later, it wouldn't have been as good? Or it wouldn't have got as much?
Only the diehards, probably.
well, maybe, maybe not. I mean, there were two bands that I felt that were a little bit untouchable by grunge, and that was Aerosmith and Van Halen. Um, I mean, of course, they probably suffered some, but
Or
they were,
Judas Priest.
well, Judas Priest was playing back to
I was
playing,
only thinking, I'm sorry.
they were back to playing rock clubs because Halford left and you had Fight.
Oh, he was doing fight.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's what I'm saying is, I mean, Iron Maiden of all bands was playing some rock clubs, in the mid 90s. You know, it's like you think of Maiden now selling out of arenas, and that's how hard grunge
But
was.
that's not Bruce Dickinson. Wasn't that Blaze
You know
Bailey?
what? I don't know if it really mattered.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
I'm
know.
just saying.
I don't know if it mattered because where Ozzy was Ozzy. Ozzy was evil. And Iron Maiden, though their album
Mm,
covers were evil, I think
they're triumphant,
they
kind
were a little bit too much of what grunge wasn't and was making fun of. And some of those bands, like the Judas Priest and the Iron Maidens, you know, even with them losing singers, I don't know if they really could have survived like Aerosmith and uh, Van Halen. So, I mean, Ozzy survived it. I mean, he was able to tour. Osmosis came out. It got radio play. Um,
Wait, wasn't didn't he do Hey Stupid with Alice Cooper? He was like in that music video, I swear. Like
well, that
he's
would
in
have,
the music video, but I don't know if it's like featuring Ozzy or whatever.
well,
That was like 91
yeah.
was
See,
Hey
that's
Stupid.
still a little bit before grunge. Uh,
Yeah,
Alice
you did say
Cooper,
92.
Alice Cooper was one that you had Trash, you had Hey Stupid, big albums, and then when you had this Last Temptation, which was the height of grunge, it went. Even though he had Chris Cornell on that album with him.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. For me, it picks up at Dragon Town in the early 2000s for Alice.
So, um,
Sorry, what were you gonna say, Dave?
I wasn't going to say anything. I was nothing. I
Oh,
didn't mean to say. No, no,
sorry.
no, that's okay.
uh,
You're good.
but I'm glad I saw Black Sabbath in Detroit 2016-ish, I think. And I remember like, do I buy a seat up front? You know, I was like, well, I don't need to be up front. You know, they don't really move around. I just remember I bought one in the
They don't
center,
move.
in the center, you know, right, you know, in the back center. And I just went and I just like I probably had my I wish I would have gotten drunk or high, took it to another level, but uh I just remember I just sat there mostly with my eyes closed and just took that in.
Yeah, that's
And it
good.
was so fucking phenomenal. You seeing Geezer up there. I think it was Tony Iommi's birthday. Um,
Okay.
so he might have been turning the ripe old age of 70 or something back then. And uh glad that I saw uh
Yeah.
and then one thing Ozzy was too is Ozzy, where some of these bands have stopped releasing music, you know, Ozzy put out albums fairly regularly up
Yeah.
until recently. Um, and he always had great guitar players. I mean,
Jakey
you,
Lee, Randy Rhodes, like Zach
Zach Wilde. Yeah.
I
Wild.
mean, Zach Wild, I mean, you know when Zach Wild's playing. I mean,
Yeah.
that to me just took it to a whole nother level. No more tears. I mean, yeah, no rest for the wicked, whatever. But when
Like
you took
any band he's in. There's that one band like that the oh, I forgot the name of the band right off the top of my head. It's 3 Days Grace, but My Darkest Days is like the brothers are in the same band, and he did a song with My Darkest Days called Porn Star Dancing. Like you know when it's Zach Wild on guitar because it says like featuring him, Chad Kroger, depending on like what album or version you have. But it's just like you can tell when you listen to the album without it saying featuring Zach Wild because the guitar is completely different, like whether it's Ozzy or not.
And did Ozzy have a bad guitarist in any of his or most of his
Exactly.
bands? I mean, that's,
yeah,
I mean, look at Brad Gillis.
Brad Gillis,
I
you know,
wish,
Zach.
I wish it would have been great to get a studio record with Ozzy and Brad, but I digress. I did ask on the page, I did ask on the page if anybody wanted to leave a message or whatever and give their favorite Ozzy memories or whatever. Um, Carrie said her favorite songs are Dreamer and Shot in the Dark, which Shot in the Dark is definitely one of your more 80s sounding rock songs,
Right.
um, co-written by Phil Susan. Vicky Rhines, Goodbye to Romance is one of my all-time Ozzy favorites. Crazy Train is the top of that list too. Uh, so many great songs. I mean, Goodbye. I One of
Yeah.
my things I always remember is being in Afghanistan, and the base I was at was just like a huge city, right? It had 30,000 fucking people there. And I had my truck. I was like, I gotta go get fuel. It's the middle of the night, and there's a fucking line because something was wrong with the fuel depot and motherfucker. So I turn on the Armed Forces Network, and just right then over the mountain started playing. I'm like, fucking A, here I am in Afghanistan. But I'm like, everything's all right. And I just remember just hearing that fucking drums. And a lot of people think that's Tommy Aldridge. And it's actually Lee Kirkslake on those records. Um, but anyways, David Dodd, I distinctly remember the earthy smell in the room when I listened to the Bark of the Moon album for the first time. Well, Dave, I don't know what that earthy smell was, but hopefully you got rid of it. Um, Rick Scriver, first time seeing the VHS concert Speak of the Devil with my favorite Axeman, Brad Gillis, blazing laser beams on guitar while I was in the U.S. Navy with my shipmates on a return home party from Maladina, Italy on a Mediterranean cruise. That's one of the things about that Ozzy Speak of the Devil DVD release that they finally put out. I love the beginning where it's got all those lasers and everything going. Still looks good 40 years later. Sean McSparn posted him holding Bubba from Brad Gillis's guitar that he played on that tour. Tom Armbruster, The Ultimate Sin was my Ozzy album. And I like how he writes that. Like to me, like maybe my Ozzy album would be maybe Osmosis because I was old enough to go buy it the first day, but maybe No More Tears to where everybody's got their own. Shot in the Dark was a top track, but Killer of Giants, great track, was a heavy tune, and so was Thank God for the Bomb. Everybody jumped on him for his demonic lyrics, but I found them mostly positive and deeper than expected. And you knew this voice when you heard it, no mistaking. Speaking of like demonic lyrics or stuff, things we forget is how these bands were being sued by kids killing themselves and blaming the parents blaming the
The
music.
stained class one.
You had the Judas Priest one, that was a big deal. But you had
Suicide Solution.
Suicide Solution, where they're like, he says, shoot, shoot at the end. And I remember like the first version I had of that was a shitty mastering and you couldn't hear it. But then when I got the remastered, I'm like, okay, it may say shoot, shoot in there. But
Subliminal as fuck.
and you know what? Me and my buddies still talk about this. And I got to mention it is so when we're 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, you always go to the neighborhood park and play basketball or baseball, football, whatever we were doing. And on the
Mm.
basketball court there, someone had spray painted in the corner of the basketball court, Ozzy is God. And we just always remembered that Ozzy is God. And yesterday when me and my buddy were texting, I texted him like, you know what? If we were ever going to go back there and put that spray paint that on there again. We didn't do it, but if we were ever going to go back there and do that,
Reenact
tonight's
it.
the night. And like whoever did it, I remember they put the lines through the Z's, kind of like how his logo was.
Right.
That's
But
cool.
I mean, just as a even here closing in on 50, me and my buddies still talk about, we can just mention Ozzy as God. We still think back to their local park. Stan Jackson, met him twice, got a pic with him. Next, after show, he sat at a table meeting after show, guest signed one item each. Asked my name to personalize it. He said my name, spelling it back. I said, yes, sir. He said, don't fucking call me sir.
There you go, man.
Tom Chapin, see you on the other side. Seems quite appropriate now. Shot in the Dark, Fire in the Sky, Miracle Man. I think Miracle Man was the big single off of No Rest for the Wicked. No More Tears, Desire, lots of great stuff. Christy Casey Orman. I remember seeing Ozzy with Randy Rhodes in Dallas, 1981 at the infamous Reunion Arena, and then saw him again in August of 82 with Brad at the Cotton Bowl. Everybody went crazy when Ozzy pulled off the wig. I remember Brad had a big old smile on his face. So what had happened? Pretty much I know it's out there. I know Brad has told me the story. Is maybe Ozzy went out, got fucked up, shaved his head, and Sharon loses it, like, you know,
Get on
and
stage.
they bought some cheap ass wig and they're trying to figure out how to like rock and roll it. So they're like, we'll put fake blood on and pull it off and stuff like that.
Put a rat's nest.
So you can find the photos of Brad on stage with the bald uh, Ozzy, and also what's still out there is the last show Ozzy and Randy Rhodes played together was at like the Knoxville Convention Center or something in downtown Knoxville, and that arena is still there. I was actually there earlier this year, and kind of neat to be there and just think, hey, this is where there's two.
Randy
Right.
was.
Now there's two arenas there. There's like a big arena hall, and then there's like a theater that holds a few thousand people. They were in like the 5,000, 6,000 seat arena part. But yeah, just to think, hey, this is where Randy Rhodes played his last show and departed, but that venue is still there in Knoxville. Back in '83, my friends and I cut class to go meet Ozzy at an in-store meet and greet. It was epic, and we got back in time for last spell. Fortunately, to this day, my parents never found out about it.
They know now.
Yep. How cool would that to be? Go to a meet and greet, meet Ozzy. My daughter knows Ozzy from Trolls World Tour. He voiced one of the characters. So there you go. Just like how you say, where do you come in on the timeline? Um, you looking at me, looking at you. Bonus track on the 40th anniversary of Blizzard of Oz release. Randy's playing his killer on that track. That's Michael Burgess. I don't know if I know that track. I'll have to find it. Aliv Weidman is the one who talked about Trolls World, by the way. Laura Lee Olson. Here you go, Joss. Lexi playing Crazy Train with a local band. That's her daughter. Um, uh, Ozzy had an impact on people of all ages, so even her kiddo is playing Ozzy. And Mary Griffith. I think my most clear memory of Ozzy is trying to explain to my mother that he wasn't a devil worshiper. That if she would just listen to the words of the song, she would see it was all an act. She wouldn't listen and forbade me from going to the Ozzy concert. My friends and I concocted this huge scheme and we drove from Huntsville, Alabama to see him in Nashville, Tennessee. We did not get caught. Those are
Bonus.
the best
There
stories
you
there are.
go.
And Lance Rushing. Ozzy was banned from playing my hometown when I was in the seventh grade, and then again when I was in the ninth grade, which he sent an article here. What
Was
was
that when
the
he pissed
that
on the
was
Alamo or something?
well, the Alamo's a whole different story. This was in Baton Rouge. And it's giving me all kinds of ads and stuff, but the Alamo was a different one. So Alamo, if you, I mean, it's probably changed a lot in 40 some years, but even now it's a complex, but if you go around the back, it's kind of just another building. I'm sure it even was back then. Ozzy, pissed drunk. I think he was in a dress. He had to piss. He thinks he's in the alley. He's going to piss up against the wall. He didn't know it was the Alamo, and got arrested and banned,
He's
and
snorting fire ants. You think he's even doing normal drugs?
but uh, so yeah, so that's where that Alamo story came up, and eventually, I mean, even yesterday, the Alamo paid tribute to Ozzy because he went back with his
Was
son.
he banned? Oh, I thought he
He
was
w- he went
banned.
back. He was, but he went back with his son, and he like apologized, and they did a tour, and they mended fences or whatever. So the Alamo even wrote something that was kind of cool, where it talks about, hey, even mistakes can be learning
Right.
experiences and stuff like that, and posted a photo of him and his son back at the Alamo, and
Oh, I mean,
so.
just yeah, if you actually respected enough to,
Well, it wasn't like I think.
appreciate what you did.
I mean, I don't think, like I said. I mean, listen, if you haven't
Accountability is everything.
if you haven't been pissed drunk and had to go piss behind a fucking restaurant or bar or piss, off the side of the road, then you weren't really living. Okay. You ate some salads and, you still talk about the time when you went out for a bachelorette party and, had two Mai Tais. Um, I mean, so I get it. Ozzy like, I gotta piss. I'm on a road. I'm gonna piss next to a building. It ain't like he's like, ah, here's a fucking Alamo. Take that,
Yeah, I
Davy.
know. It
Take
does
Yeah.
really doesn't
take
seem
take that,
intentional.
Davy Crockett.
Like on that, yeah.
So, and here's a little knowledge: the Alamo, one of the largest collections of Alamo, I don't know what the word is, just historical
History?
items. That one of the largest collections ever donated to him was from Phil Collins. Phil Collins spent his
That's
whole life collecting stuff from the Alamo or, people who were
wow.
associated with it. And a few years ago, he gave that whole collection to him. So you can go there and see the Phil Collins collection.
What a
Completely off
great
topic.
guy.
So there you go. So there you go. There's some Aussie stories. Just I'm sure everybody's.
Oh, I want to say one quick thing. There was a recent Ozzy reference too in Stranger Things, the most recent season. Uh, there's like a bunch of bats in the season, and when they were like trying to ward them off and everything like that, the one guy goes like, "That was cool what you did back there, a real Ozzy move." And then the character goes like, "What?" And then he goes like, "Ozzy, he bit a bat's head off a stage." And then he goes like, "I don't know." He's like, "Anyway, it was really metal what you did back there." like
Oz
like no matter what, like it's just out there.
And there are definitely thousands of more stories than what was actually released. That people know about. Who
Exactly.
knows how many?
That's why Brad needs to write a book. I mean, uh,
Just Ozzy.
Yeah, just in his time, imagine the stuff that is not public knowledge.
I mean, it's not my. I mean, there's nothing really about Ozzy, but like one of the first times Brad knew, like, oh, I might be getting famous, deals with the whole Ozzy thing. And again, that's not my story to tell, but uh, that's the stuff, like,
Right.
being stories out there with Ozzy and everything. But
It's cool.
yeah, it's just weird. Like I said, no Ozzy. But the music's always going to be there, and uh,
Another quick thing, did you ever see like the VH1 classic kind of like I don't know if they were like interviews or documentaries with different people, but they did one of Rob Halford, and he was talking about how when he was a teenager, he did his bedroom in the cross of the Black Sabbath, like painted it on his wall, and his mother was like absolutely horrified. But he was like, "Yeah, this is
well, I mean,
awesome."
I remember cranking Black Sabbath. Like if my parents pissed me off, I'd be in my room like I want to play the most devilish music I know. Uh,
Yeah,
and I think that's why, I always argue that's why rock and roll's not as popular, because the youth want scary. The youth want not really scary, but they want edgy. They don't want shit their parents like.
and
And
they can't be scared anymore
well,
almost.
it's
So
like,
it's like, what's
think about
the
this.
anti now?
If teenagers brought in something that was like Ozzy or Marilyn Manson, their dads and grandparents be like, "Oh, this is fucking great. I love it."
Right.
Yeah,
And that's why it's rap and stuff like that, because their parents hate it. And that's the spirit of rock and roll is
rebellion.
I don't want what my parents want. And we're all old bucks now to where, they bring in something.
Speak for yourself.
Um, all right there, 32. Um, it's coming quick. Uh, but yeah, so
I'm just like doing Art the Clown move. Sorry.
there you go. Ozzy Osbourne, 76,
Dave's
130,
safe. Josh isn't.
136 Oz
In Aussie years.
in Ozzy, or well, yeah, in human years. Um,
I even saw Aldo Nova was like, I'm not supposed to move right now, but right now move to speak because like he just had some kind of accident. Did you see that?
he fell down like a flight of stairs or some shit.
Yeah.
But
Horrible.
again, all these guys are that age, so
Yeah.
you're going to see. I mean, a lot of these
I
stories.
remember Steven Tyler falling in the shower. Remember
I
that?
mean, you're gonna see this more and more soon, I think. I mean, you can just hear a
Yeah.
lot of people that are, and I'm not even going to mention the names, but the stuff you read about, you're gonna see a lot more. I don't think they're gonna have the impact that Ozzy did leaving,
Yeah.
but they are gonna have an impact. And once again, Josh, you've said it many times. If you want to see these bands or if you want to see these musicians, don't hesitate because there's going to be a time when you're not going to get that chance.
We are almost at that point. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of these bands just aren't, I mean, Steve Miller's in his 80s. He just canceled his tour.
I just
Uh,
saw Alice Cooper and Ozzy were only like a year apart, if that.
Alice Cooper might be older.
No,
Um,
I mean, they were like born either the same year or like 1 year apart. I don't know what's correct or not with Ozzy's birth date, but like
you know what's crazy
they're the
is
same age and he's alive and kicking as far as we know. He hasn't said anything, Alice, but like
I
he's the same age and then you expect every other band even 10 years younger. Look at Eddie Van Halen. Nothing's guaranteed.
mhm. Well, CJ Snare. But so
Yeah.
I remember seeing Foreigner on that Night Ranger Journey Foreigner tour back
Oh,
in,
and Def Leppard.
no, definitely that was a little bit later. Uh,
Oh.
but that Foreigner Journey Night Ranger tour 2011, and Mick Jones was 67. And I was just like, how the fuck is he doing this at 67? And now like 67 is the ripe young age in these bands.
Yep.
And I mean, it can't go on. I mean, the next 10 years. I mean, if you think about it, remember how there used to always be rock clubs and you could go see one weekend it's LA Guns and the other weekend it's, Babylon AD and, even into the 90s and up into the 2000s. And you really don't have that no more unless your legacy band can fill a theater or a casino. There's really not a lot of rock clubs out there to fill in,
There is in Cleveland, but yeah.
you know. So, yep, just
Cool.
I
a
mean,
dying thing.
it's nice to see all those things. It's nice to keep it going. I think there was a part, there was a time like 10 years ago where the 80s had like a little bit of a comeback. But I don't know if it's as strong
But
now.
they
Like
can't
it
come
was.
back anymore as much because the people that are in those bands can't, they're
Well,
getting
the comebacks now are Creed.
right.
You know what I mean? Those bands
Exactly.
from the late 90s, early 2000s, that's your next generation. Creed's doing a big reunion
Because
tour.
that was 10 years before that.
Yeah.
So, like,
And
yeah, it's kind of.
It's
I got
gener
it in that weird point.
it's generational. It's
yeah.
generational.
All right, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you for listening to this little Ozzy tribute. Dave, Robin, thank you for joining me. Listen, go out there, put on your favorite Ozzy track, turn it up loud, go find your, you know, their nearest varmint and bite the head off and scare the neighbors just like Ozzy would want you to. All right. Anyways, go to the Night Ranger Fans in Motion page, click join, click subscribe on here, click the thumbs up button that you like it, and send Dave.
Rumor has it you're going to approve those people if they come and join.
I listen.
If you don't look like you have a fake profile,
Well, those are getting harder to sort out too,
I
and
get that.
I'm pretty good at it, but um, I'm probably denying people that really want to join too. But I know I'm probably letting in some people that are fake, but not as easy as you think. Don't send me messages telling me how I can find, figure it out too, because I've been
Sometimes a message isn't even like all you need.
I ain't taking time to mess with them. You know,
Yeah.
you listen. If I deny you, send me another request and put in there that you know Dave Nadelman is your favorite Florida Gator man, and
You're in. You're pretty
I'll
much
put you
in.
I
in.
just added my friend, the one I was talking to about that Cleveland concert,
Yeah, it was
actually.
probably a bad decision on my point. But, all right, everybody.
All right.
Later.